Hey guys, this is my second video for Ask Jessi Kneeland, and I am reading a question today from Crystal. So she writes, I would like your advice on getting out of a funk. I'm in my 30s, I have 3 amazing daughters that are my entire universe. Really, they are incredible people, and I am grateful every day that I get to be their mom. I work full-time as an administrative assistant at a mental health clinic. It's a wonderful environment with excellent coworkers. I'm truly fortunate to work here. I'm married to an extremely handsome man with whom I share my blended family. We've been married for 7 years. I run 5 miles almost every morning at 5 a.m. I completed my first full marathon last year in 4 hours on the nose. I eat whole foods, almost completely vegetarian, absolutely buckets of vegetables and fruit. Seriously, I have the veggie tan. I walk 50 minutes almost daily with my best friend on our lunch break. I try to meditate and practice yoga at least weekly. This is just an excerpt from my life, just as an example of how truly healthful, full, and beautiful my life is. And yet, I'm gaining weight, I'm breaking out in acne, my sex life is almost zero, and I'm feeling disgusting, sexless, frumpy, and invisible. I know I need to work out more, eat less, cross-train, love myself, etc., but it seems to be almost impossible to schedule it and maintain the energy to do so. My marriage is pretty shitty, but that is something I have exhausted every effort on. I have read no less than 30 marriage books. I see an incredible counselor every few months or so who's deeply enhanced my life. My marriage is a bit of a write-off. I daydream about fitness competitions, going back to school, becoming a certified yoga instructor, and the list goes on. I feel like I'm wasting what should be the best part of my sexual life and fading away into invisibility. Jessi, if you could please shine some light on this, I would really appreciate it. Crystal. Okay, so the reason that I chose this question is because I think it would be really easy to answer from an external point of view. The external factors, just from at a glance, I mean, who knows, but at a glance, I'd say probably working out more is not the answer. It sounds like you may be dealing with some burnout and physical fatigue, burnout. Mental burnout, because there's a lot of stress, even though it's not what we think of necessarily as stress. Feeling invisible is stressful. So yeah, so I would say from an outside point of view, maybe less working out, more restfulness and taking some of the pressure off yourself, trying to handle your stress, maybe eating more protein. I mean, these are all things that I might say from an external point of view that might help with what you're asking for. But I don't want to approach it from that place, both because I don't know that much about you and I'm not exactly sure what you would need to change, but also because I think there's a much, much more important element to this question that will help a lot more than talking about dialing down your exercise routine. The element that I want to talk about is about how there's a piece of you that you have bastardized. That's the word I'm going to use. There is a whole piece of who you are that you have decided is not important enough to feed. And as such, it is dying. And that's it. I think there is something within what you wrote that speaks to a dying piece of your soul. And maybe that means that there's something in your marriage. In fact, I would venture a guess to say there's something in your marriage. Or a lack of something in your marriage, rather, that you're withholding because it isn't there. So because it's not in your marriage, you're actually not getting it. That sounds maybe a little bit more accurate. So being seen, being really truly seen, being held in an intimate way, physically too, but I mean emotionally, being seen and held by somebody emotionally, and having a space created for us to be visible is no less important than food and air for health. I mean, maybe it's a little, you can go longer without it, but ultimately you can't live truly healthfully without it. And it sounds like you have given up that part of yourself in order to make everything else work. So you have this marriage and it's okay. You call it a write-off. My guess is, as a write-off, it's not truly nourishing, but it's also not bad. But because it's not truly nourishing, you're not getting nourished anywhere. Nobody's seeing you and holding you and allowing you to be visible. My guess is probably nobody is touching you. And intimate touch and cuddling and hugging, kissing, and sex are vital to your health and happiness. And you're not getting them because that wouldn't be appropriate necessarily outside of your marriage, and because your marriage doesn't have them. So to me, what you need to be looking at is not how do I get more protein or get more movement. It's how do you allow yourself to create space somewhere to pursue this authentically desirous person underneath who you have basically disarmed and given no power to in your life right now. How can she show up more on a daily basis? Who can she show up with? Who is she safe to show up with? Because if she continues to not show up, then you will continue to feel the way you feel, like a part of you is dying. And that's a travesty, because you are obviously full of riches and desires, and those little daydreams about yoga instructing or fitness competitions, they're telling you something. They're telling you that you want to be more, you want to be bigger, you want to be nourished, you want to expand into this person who allows her desires to run and guide you, instead of this person for whom desire is an unnecessary luxury, which is what I heard in what you wrote. Desire is not an unnecessary luxury. Desire is a vital part of being a three-dimensional human being. And desire for touch and sex and being seen, we must not live without those. We can, I suppose, but what you're asking, that's what needs to be looked at. And I will say that the desires, once you start with desires, they tend to roll. Like once you start unleashing and allowing yourself to act on desires, they tend to roll. So in terms of where to start with one. Start with anything. If that means, hiring a coach to enter a physique competition, or it means, just signing up for a yoga teacher training course, then great. If those are what are in your control right now to bring more of that delicious, powerful, desirous, like a three-dimensional self to the surface more on a daily basis, then do those things, because they will roll. They will start to get your juices flowing, and you'll start to be like, oh yeah, that's right. It feels really good to actually do what I desire, instead of just doing what's okay, doing what's normal, following the rules, and having a good enough life. So I guess don't settle for good enough, because what you're describing is good enough, but that's not enough. Good enough is not enough. You can be so much more. You have so much more inside you, and to let it die is tragic. Ooh, there's a cat. Tragic and unnecessary, because all you have to do is start bringing them to the surface on a daily basis. Find the people who nourish you the way that maybe your marriage doesn't, or look at your marriage and see where it can nourish you better, because whether or not you are in a marriage that offers you being seen, being truly visible, you need to be seen and be truly visible. And you can't allow that to die off just because the one relationship that you've chosen that is supposed to offer you those things doesn't. So start taking action on that. Start allowing that to come to the surface, and treat it like it's more important than a bonus feature to your life, because it's not. Your soul dying is beyond. The world will lose out if you allow this to continue. And of course you will lose out, because there is so much to be done in this realm, because it's a matter of emotional life and death, basically. So find ways to act on your desire. Find ways to create space somehow, somewhere in your life, that allows you to be seen and truly held for who you are. And don't settle for good enough, because you can't. That's it.